Hello everyone, welcome back to another video by clip on my YouTube channel, and in this video I'm going to show you the new type of the plugins which I use a lot for increasing the mix in my tracks, and they are spectral processing plugins, and I'm gonna show you how they work, and I'm gonna compare two of my favorite plugins in this video. So, the only new thing that I'm aware of on the music market in a way of discovery or the new functionality of the plugins are those spectral plugins, and in this video I'm going to compare and show you how do I use the MSpectralDynamics from Melda Production and the Sooth2. So both of them are spectral processing plugins. In general, they use the same way of working, and both of them I use in different occasions. So when it comes to the development of the new plugins or the functionality or the type of the plugins, I'm not aware that there was many things that was kind of new on the music market. There's many updates, new versions, delay with filters, with time modulations, so they are increasing the functionalities better, they are better sounding, but there was no kind of major discovery when it comes for a type of the plugins. So the only type of the plugins which I felt as a new thing in the last few years are those spectral processing plugins, and I'm going to talk about in this video about Sooth2 and MSpectralDynamics from Melda Production. I'm using both of those two plugins. I use them in different occasions, so they both come in the same price of 199 euros. So when it comes to comparison of the price, there's no difference in between of those two. So let's start with the Sooth2, and Sooth2 is a plugin with really good looking graphic user interface. It's pretty simple, everything is pretty clear, and I'm gonna explain in details how they work. So from the left side we have soft and hard mode to say, we have depth, like how much we want to increase it. The sharpness is about selectivity of the harmonics. So those plugins are in general kind of compressors, but they do not take the whole signal and compress the whole signal. They are working differently, as they gonna analyze and look for the harmonics or the peaks or resonances inside of the channel or the element that you are putting it onto, and they gonna affect only those harmonics or only those peaks. We can also control the frequency areas which we want to affect with this plugin, and in general it's really useful when it comes for shaping up our mixes and increasing the sound of all our elements in the track or the whole mix. So as I already said, the sharpness is here. When it detects all this harmonics or the peaks, the sharpness is gonna, how many of them is going to be, are they gonna be a bit wider, a bit narrower? So the sharpness is gonna depend on the element itself and how you want to affect it, and also the from case to case. When it comes to the selectivity knob, the more we increase it, the less it's gonna compress. So I'm not quite sure what the selectivity is working, but it's kind of softening up. The more we open it, the less it's gonna compress. So I believe it has something to come with the threshold. On the down left side we have the mode. Do we want to use left and right, mid side, the link between those two, and the balance. So we can choose mid side, so we can only affect left channel or right channel, or mid or side. So the link, balance. So in this mid side we have the attack, the release, the quality, the sidechain. So with the sidechain option we can use an external source of the signal. Let's say when the kick punches in, we can turn on and off the processing of this plugin. So we have the mix and trim, which is really important, as when we are dealing with the compression we will need to compensate a little bit of the gain. And bypass and delta. Bypass you already know, on and off. And delta is, if you select it, it's gonna solo only the thing that is affecting in the mix. So you can click on that and hear how much you are affecting the element that you are inserting Sooth2 onto. So from the right side we have something that looks like the EQ, but in general we are controlling with this EQ, we are only selecting which areas of the frequency of this element we want to affect to. So if I set, let's say, low cut and high cut, so this plugin will work only in this side over here. So it's not the EQ, it will not cut the low frequencies, it will turn off the the plugin effect on the low frequencies, and it will turn off on the high frequencies as well. Now, with the bells, if we use bell, if I increase the bell, I will increase the compression in this area. So I'm not going to increase the whole frequencies of that channel. It's not the EQ. I'm just going to increase the effect of this plugin on these frequencies. So if I want to compress more on 2K, I will make something like this. So it's going to compress more in this part over here. As well, with the attack and release, we can control, do we want to affect the transient or the body and whatsoever. So the mostly when I use it, the depth, the sharpness and selectivity are the only things, and this EQ part. Of course, I'm gonna, if I put on the final mix on the master, I most likely will never do that, but I will put on the buses or the groups. So I will increase, let's say if I'm coming to the final, I will increase this to, I don't know, 2 or 3. But in my opinion, I never was able to hear a difference, but I will just set it because I believe if it exists, it will do something. Anyway, so this was a fast overview of the Sooth2, and let's say I'm gonna put it now on this sequence over here. Yeah, let's say something like this. As you were able to see, it's compressing the most in these frequencies over here. So let's say that I now want to compress only the high frequencies, because in most cases I'm using this for this plugin I use for that. So I will set like the low cut really high. So if I now turn on this bell and if I increase it, it will compress even more in these high frequencies. If I want to do opposite, let's say if I want to compress the low ones, I will just do the opposite and I can, let's say, increase. I'm not saying I'm gonna do it, but something like this without. If I increase the sharpness, there's going to be more detailed harmonic selections. And if I increase selectivity, it's kind of working a bit less. If I put the selectivity all the way down, I'm making my decisions when it comes for mixing only by the ears, because everything that we see, it's actually nobody's guarantee us that what we see on the analyzer and everything is actually right thing, because this is just the tools that we can use in order to help us in which direction we should go, but the main decisions we should always make by the ears. This is what we are dealing with the sound, and the ears are the only tool that can actually make the right judgment, because if we are making music which we listen to and we are making the decisions by our eyes, then we are not doing something properly, right? Okay, so let's move to the Spectral Dynamics, MSpectralDynamics from Melda Production. Of course, even the Sooth and the Melda Production plugins I need to update. I was a bit away from the studio, so there's so many things I need to update, so don't judge me for that. As the Sooth2, we also have the spectrum field, or the part of the plugin, and here is the resolution. It's the same as the sharpness. No, it's the same as the sharpness. The smoothness is kind of similar. It's gonna smooth it up a little bit, all this analyzes. So this part of spectrum is the part where we control how the plugin will analyze our spectrum frequencies and whatsoever, or how it's gonna find the harmonics that we want to affect. The naturality is gonna make a bit more natural sound, and with the slope we are controlling, are we gonna affect more mids or more highs or more lows. From the general parameters, the input gain, output gain, the temp gain, I'm not sure what it does, and dry and wet, which is really useful as well. And here we have dynamic detection, so this is the part of the compressor. So the attack, release, and in my opinion, it's not in my opinion, it's just the MSpectralDynamics has a bit more options and it's more detailed than Sooth2. I'm not saying it's better, but it is better in certain occasions or certain types of the processes that you want to deal with. So the attack, release, and then we have the peak hold. So how long we're gonna keep the peak, 0, or it's going to be, I don't know, 6 milliseconds. So RMS length as well, look ahead, release mode, there's different modes for the release. And then we have the processor over here where we are setting the threshold. So in general, with the MSpectralDynamics, we are setting the threshold. Let's say I don't know, in this case it's around 40. So if I set, so around 40, so every sound, every harmonic that goes above 40 is going to be affected with the compression over here. So it's not going to compress the whole signal. You will see that when I play, there's going to be like going down, so it's going to detect. So it's working on a spectrum and it's find the peaks and it's going to bring only that peak. It can be only one peak, it can be more of them. It all depends how many of them are passing through the threshold point. So the ratio, how much the knee size, the range, this is not the tutorial about the compression, but if you know how the compressor works, this is the same thing. It will just have a different points when it compared with the compressor. Compressor will affect the whole signal that it comes in. It's going to take it as a whole and it's going to affect the whole signal. So if we put the kick on, it's going to affect the whole kick. We can control how much it's gonna, but it's gonna compress the whole kick. While MSpectralDynamic and Sooth2, they're gonna affect only certain parts. So if there's any frequency that is going above, let's say 1K, you can affect that with the threshold. Let's set, like, you can kind of make the threshold on the level that is a maximum that you want to pass through, and then you can control how much you want to compress those frequencies. Also from the right side, the analyzer and equalizer, really handy thing about it's similar with the on the Sooth2 with the bells over here, but it's just a little bit better, I would say, and it's a little bit more extreme. So it's a MSpectralDynamics, I believe it's a more for professionals, for people who really know what they do, and also for people that are really good with the small details, so for mixing, mastering, and this type of engineering stuff. While Sooth2 is really handy and it's built that way that it's really easy to use and generally anybody can use it. While MSpectralDynamics, I needed a bit of time to get used to it because sometimes I was overdoing it and it's really hard to find this sweet spot. But if you want to do some precise work, I believe it's a bit better than Sooth2 when it comes to super small details. So the threshold, I can also, we have here 20 hertz, 20k hertz. So I can, let's say, I can now release the threshold on the lows, and then I can affect or compress only the high frequencies. As you can see over here, this is really extreme settings, but I want to all of you to hear what it's actually doing. So, or I can do opposite. I can just set that, let's say I want to compress only the harmonics in the low area. So, or let's say this, because this, and if I increase the resolution and smoothness, I bring down the tonality, let's say also a bit down. You will see that it will detect more of these harmonics or all these peaks that are actually showing on this frequent range. Anyway, so this was it. And also equalizer, it's kind of similar thing. Threshold, it can capture like to analyze the whole sound, you can capture it and then do by that. You can also write the attack, like let's say the attack you want to affect only the certain parts of the frequency spectrum with the attack, so you can also create a different shape for the attack, for the release, reset. There's also the second processor, and there's also a gate which you can enable as well. So in general, these two plugins are really nice. So when to use them, I will most likely never use them in the solo, only in if I do some crazy sound design and there's like a lot of things that are going on. Let's say, I don't know, this. So for example, this melody, it does have a little bit of the high frequencies. And this is the case when I use mostly the Sooth and MSpectralDynamics dynamics. So I will use Sooth2 in this case because I heard, for example, something in a highs, especially in the transient, that is kind of bothering me. So I'm gonna turn off the high cut. I'm gonna just bring in the low cut because I want to affect only the high frequencies. And I can select delta right now to find exactly the thing that was bothering me. So around, no, so it's here around 8K. So I'm gonna, okay, something like this. And I'm gonna bring attack down because I can hear that straight away on the transient of these high frequencies there is this thing which is bothering me. And release, I'm gonna make it really fast because I do not want to affect it as I mostly are targeting right now the transient of this part. So yeah, exactly so. Or it's just soften it up. There are certain frequencies, and especially like on the beginning, like there's some type of, I don't know, like guitar pluck or something that bothers me a little bit. So I'm affecting this a little bit. I could maybe do it. So I will use it for this type, and also let's say the hi-hats. Most likely the hi-hats there I've seen so many times, like there's a hi-hat, there's a really nice slope going on, and then around 8K there is like a small peak. And if you put headphones and if you listen to this type of the hi-hats like 808, 909, they all have these small resonances that are jumping out. It kind of starts bothering me, like it's providing something that the effect in my ear is like I hearing also the low frequencies. Even if I put the low cut and I know they don't exist, like my ear is hurting in a way, not with the pain, but it's like trying to squeeze. I don't know. Most likely always I'm trying to avoid having the frequencies that are gonna bother me to produce some unpleasant experience. So let's say this hi-hat, which I like a lot, something like this. This hi-hat also has like this one, but usually you will see in many hi-hats from the sample packs that there's a kind of like just like they are one of two of these harmonics, or the peaks are just one to each other, and these are most likely the one that are gonna cause this unpleasant moment. And also, like all of these spectral plugins, there is a not a theory, but the more we bring the whole mix to be closer to the white noise, so the flatter it is, the better it's going to translate from speakers to laptops, to any speakers that we're going to hear them on. And I don't know, there's just much better sounding effect. Of course, we are producing the electronic dance music, so we will always have a little bit more of the lows, but in general, the slope is what's important, so that there are not many of these jumpings, I would say, or harmonics that are just, or resonances that are coming out, even though we can use the resonances for a sound design. But anyway, so these plugins are helping you to bring all of these harmonics that are jumping out a little bit inside, which is going to provide a much smoother, much nicer effect. Of course, I always have it on the drum loops, on the drums as well, because I have one hi-hat, another hi-hat, the third one, and the hi-hats are created from noises, so there's going to be many of these things that are jumping out. So how do I use it? Somehow it makes the whole bunch of the different sounds, like different hi-hats, somehow squashing them, and they all sound as a kind of one thing together, like a one element, which is really nice. We are using different elements, but when the better, the closest they are frequently to each other, the better they're gonna interfere in between each other. So I did leave a little bit of attack over here on the 1 millisecond just to not destroy the transient that much, but in general, it's if you decide to use on 0, it's also fine. Most likely, in most cases, I use on 0 as well. So I'm going to use it in almost everything. In single elements, like on solo, I'm going to use only if I hear that there's something that's bothering me that I need to fix, but most likely I'm going to use it on the groups, and especially like the hi-hat groups, the leads, and all these things that will have like the bigger differences in the harmonics. All right, I tried to cut talking, as there was some of you that were referring like there's much more talking than explaining, but I really think that I'm able to give you all these small details, and all of these details needs to be spoken about, and without it I can just tweak the knobs around and you won't understand what is actually happening. So I'm trying to share the information with you, not that much of the processes, even though I tried in this video to show you more than I tried to speak about. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and see you soon with another video.